Shafton International College. We are located in Brisbane, Australia, and we are currently offering the early childhood qualifications. We currently are offering the Certificate 3 and also the Diploma in Early Childhood. We also offer these programs as a package. So what that means is that you can study the Certificate 3, and once you've finished your studies, then you can have a holiday and then you can come back and study your diploma with us. We have 2 early childhood trainers at the moment. So myself, my name is Zoe Orm, and I have been training and assessing for about 6 years now. And my early childhood experience goes back about 10 years. So as soon as I finished high school, I went and started studying in my early childhood studies. I completed my Certificate 3, and then I started working in the industry. When I finished my Certificate 3, I really, really liked the industry and I wanted to learn more. So I wanted to study my diploma. When I finished my diploma, I had a full-time position in the Early Childhood Centre. So I was working 5 days a week. I was also promoted to a director position, which is in a manager role at a childcare centre. And that was a really great opportunity. It gave me lots and lots of experience and knowledge. Our other childhood trainer is Lena Law. Lena has had 23 years experience in the early childhood industry. She has a world of knowledge, and she has been a full-time director, assistant, lead educator, everything. You name it, she's done it. And she has a lot of experience and stories to share in our classes as well, which is very, very valuable. So what is childcare? Childcare is an organisation where children go from Monday to Friday. Usually when parents are working, they will take their children to the organisation and they will leave their children there while they go to work. When we have the children during the day, we are there to supervise them. Now, the children that we do look after, they can range from 6 weeks old all the way up until 5 years old, which is a very, very big age range. While they are in our care, we also provide a range of activities that will help with their learning and development. So what is going to happen when you finish your Certificate 3? You will be a qualified educator. Okay, so when we are working in early childhood in Australia, we refer to ourselves as educators because we are there to educate the children. So when we are a qualified educator, this means that you can work in a childcare centre in Australia. You can also work in a range of different centres. So a long day care centre, which is a centre that is open from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. We also have family daycare. Family daycare is when a childcare centre is running inside a home. You have 4 or 5 children and you look after them. We also have another type of childcare, which is outside hours school care. This happens before and after school on the school grounds. The most challenging part, I think, will be the first couple of weeks. Okay, it's brand new. There's a lot of different words, terminology, things that you learn, but a lot of the children and students, when they go into the childcare centres, they seem to have a better understanding. They can remember what we speak about in the classroom, and then when they go into the centre and they see it happening in real life, it makes it a lot easier for that understanding to take place. How do you form the groups? So we have different rooms in the childcare centre. Generally, we will have a nursery room, which is for babies. So 6 weeks to about 12 months old. That is the age group where children can't really walk, so that we do a lot of lifting, we carry them, we give them bottles instead of food because they're too young to eat normal food. We do a lot of singing and pictures and storybook sort of activities to try and stimulate their learning and development. When they reach 1 year old, they are considered a toddler. So a toddler is from 1 year to about 2 years old. That's when they're starting to learn to talk. They can also start walking, and their skills will slowly start to develop more and more. From 2 to 3 years old, that's generally a kindy age. And that's where they will learn a lot more about manners, sharing, all of those sorts of things. And then we go from 3 to 5. That is generally where they are a little bit older, and we call that the senior kindy or the pre-prep age. And that's where we get them ready to go to school. Okay, so those years is when we get them ready to start going into the primary schools. So what happens if you study your diploma? You will be able to enter a employment opportunity at a more managerial level. Now, a managerial level in a childcare centre could be a lead educator. A lead educator is a position that you have, and basically you're the leader of the childcare room. So if you work in the nursery with the babies, you are responsible for the activities that happen. You are responsible for looking after the children. So if something serious happens, you would be responsible for it. How many babies can we have in one group? Now that depends on the age. So in Australia, we have a term called staff ratios. So depends on how old the child is. In the babies room, we could have 4 babies per educator. Okay, so if we had 9 babies in a room, we would need 3 educators. Okay, so 1 educator to every 4 children. So it can get quite busy when we have lots and lots of children. When you look at the age group of, let's say, the 3 to 5 year olds, you could have 1 educator to every 11 children. So you could have 11 children by yourself, which sounds like a lot, but I promise you, it won't be a lot when you're in the room. So they are talking, okay? They can help you pack away. They can, they know exactly what they want to do, okay? They are very self-efficient, and that's why 11 is allowed for that age group. Another role that you could have when you finish your diploma is you could become a director. A director is a manager in a childcare centre. Okay, this comes with a lot of experience. So generally, you know, when you finish your diploma, I would say work in the childcare centre for a year or 2 before you look at a director position. And that's just to help you ensure that you are well prepared and you have enough knowledge and skills to step up into that higher role. So I've spoken about vocational placement before, but what is it? Now, when you are studying early childhood in Australia, there is a national requirement that you need to complete vocational placement. Now, this is when you go into a regulated childcare centre in Australia and you complete a certain amount of hours. So when you're in the certificate 3, you would be doing 160 hours of vocational placement. And when you go into your diploma, you would be doing 280 hours of vocational placement. Now, that sounds like a lot, but if you go to your childcare centre for 5 hours a week, so that's not even one full day, you will make up those hours by the end of your course. So do not worry about that. Is studying a bachelor necessary to work in a childcare centre? When you study a bachelor, that makes your level even higher than a diploma. And it's very, very easy to, start studying your bachelor. When you do your bachelor, that allows you to become a teacher. When you become a teacher, generally you would be put into the pre-prep room, which is the 5-year-old children. Okay, so between 4 and 5 years old, that's what you would be doing. That's if you want to become a teacher. You don't have to, and it depends on what your goals are and where your interests lie. Some of my students study their bachelor and they love it and they become teachers and they are wonderful. Some students don't want to, and that's fine. It won't affect you at all. I do not have my bachelor. I chose not to, just purely because I was quite happy working in the childcare centre as a lead educator and a director. The studying, I got very, very tired from reading and the assignments. When you do your diploma in early childhood, and if you do decide to study your bachelor, it actually reduces your university time. So the bachelor, I believe, is 3 years. And if you have your diploma in early childhood, you could lose 1 year. So you would study your bachelor for 2 years instead of 3. So that's also something to think about. So your vocational placement. So while you are at your vocational placement, you will use the knowledge that we talk about in class, and then you will implement that knowledge in the childcare centre. So in class, we might look at how to change a nappy. Okay. When you go into your childcare centre the next week, you could try to change a nappy on a real child because you've learnt all of the knowledge in the class. When you are at your vocational placement, your trainer, so myself or Lena at this stage, we would come and we would observe you. We would provide advice and feedback on your tasks and how well you are performing in the centre. Okay, so we may observe you changing a nappy. We may observe you playing with children, talking to children, planning activities, producing documents, all these sorts of things, which you do learn in the classroom as well. What happens if you hurt a baby in placement? It depends on the circumstance. You are covered by insurance, liability insurance, but also remember you will never be left alone with a baby if you are a student studying the childcare qualification. So it will never be your full responsibility to look after a baby. or any child for that matter, while you are in the childcare centre. You will never be alone with the children. So what happens in class? We spend time learning about new topics every day, and you will also be asked to work by yourself, sometimes in groups as well, to complete activities which will help you learn more. Our childcare classrooms, we like to think of as a community. We want happy, we want talking, friendships, okay? We want everybody to feel comfortable about asking for help if they need. We will practice making games, singing songs, making Play-Doh or arts and crafts. And those are things that you will be able to use in the childcare centre. Uncle Barry, we are very, very lucky to have a relationship with an Indigenous elder of Australia. Now, it is the Aboriginal culture to use the word uncle, okay, because he is an elder for us. A lot of the students really love his sessions, okay? You will see him once in your course, in your Certificate 3. He talks about the history of Australia and how far Australia has come since we were first discovered. Uncle Barry will also teach us new songs and words in the Aboriginal language, which a lot of the students do enjoy. It's a lot of fun. He also talks about some interesting topics, such as the stolen generation. This is when children were taken away from their families a long, long time ago. And he also talks about how Australia was invaded. Diploma course, if you are showing an interest in the Indigenous studies, we can absolutely ask Uncle Barry to come back and do another session. He also is available for external learning. So if you want to learn more about the history of Australia, we are allowed to give you his information and you can contact him for more help and knowledge if you like as well. What makes him so special? He is just a genuinely lovely person. He has a world of knowledge and he has a lot of experience with delivering diversity training. Okay, so his classes are teaching you about diversity. He does a lot of work for the Prime Minister of Australia. He also has received a lot of awards and a lot of recognition, and he is a registered Indigenous elder in Queensland. So he's famous in my eyes. So let's look at some of the activities that we can provide to children. The first one is arts and crafts. This is a very, very fun and happy activity. You can see in this picture that children are painting and they are also using natural resources from the environment. So with painting, we can use paint, the normal paint with a paintbrush. Sometimes we like to make it a bit more interesting. So we might use clay or mud. Okay, we could put some colouring in the water and make coloured water and use that on the paper as well. We also use sand for texture and rocks. We can also provide drawing, collages, and we also encourage children to create new inventions. Another activity, so we are looking at construction, which is a big one. In the photo here, you can see children are using a big range of wooden blocks to create anything that they want. Some popular things that children like to create are towers, cities, farms, homes or houses, anything you want. One time, I saw children trying to build a car out of the blocks. What do the teachers do when one of the children is left alone? Children are not generally left alone. We might be supervising from a distance. So sometimes if there is an activity where children have a higher risk of hurting themselves, maybe they are cutting paper with scissors, I might sit at the table where the children have the scissors because I don't want them to hurt themselves. And while I'm sitting at that table, I can be looking across the room at the children playing with the blocks. So that's called supervision. We also look at dramatic play. Dramatic play is where children use their imagination and they pretend to be whatever they want. You can see that there is a boy in the picture and he is dressed as a chef. He wants to be a cook, okay? So he's got the hat and he's got a tray of food and he's going to give everybody some food. He's pretending to be a chef. And then you've got the little girls in the other picture and they are pretending to feed their babies. This is a very common type of play that children love to do. And it's very good. And they do a lot more with them as well. Sometimes children like to give baby a bath or whatever it may be. Sometimes they pretend to be in a shop and they like to give people pretend money and food. Another activity is a language activity. A language activity is something that we can provide children to help with their speech and also learning about words. So you can see here in this picture, there is an educator and he is reading the children a story. This happens every single day at a childcare centre. Children love to listen to stories, and as long as you are enthusiastic and you are happy and you try to engage the children will absolutely love it. Okay, so definitely use words like, wow, look at that. I wonder what he's doing. All of those sorts of questions and responses while you're reading a story is very, very helpful. What do we do when children who are not from an English background don't understand what we say? This can be a little bit challenging, but we work best with the parents. So we might ask the parents to give us some basic words in their language. For example, when I was working in childcare, there were a lot of Chinese families at the centre, okay, a lot. And I said to one of the families, can you help me learn Mandarin? Just basic. And I spent a long time really trying to learn some basic words like hello, go to sleep, do you want water, toilet, things like that, okay? And that is really going to help the children feel comfortable when they are in our centre. And also, if our students are speaking a different language, sometimes when you are in the centre, there could be another Korean child in the centre that you could speak to in your language, and that will help you build a very strong relationship. Another activity that we look at is a cognitive activity. Now, the word cognitive is all about mathematics and problem solving. We give the children activities that encourage them to think. This can include puzzles, magnets, memory games, counting, and sorting colours. Okay, so it depends on how old the children are, and that will depend on what sort of activity we would give them. Now, another activity is outdoor play. Outdoor play is when children are outside when the sun isn't as hot. Now, in Australia, the sun can be very, very hot. So generally, we are inside between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Okay, that is the hottest time of the day in Australia. So we like to go outside in the mornings and then also in the afternoon. So after 3 p.m., mostly we will go outside. When we are outside, children can ride their bikes, they can play in the sand pit, they can run, play games, and they can do a lot of physical activities. So what does a day look like in childcare? Childcare, the centres open at around 6 o'clock in the morning. Children arrive, the parents leave, and we say good morning. Generally, during this time, children can play outside or inside, depending on the weather. At 9 o'clock, we will go inside to our rooms. So like I said before, we've got the different rooms in the childcare centre, the nursery, toddlers, kindy, senior kindy, and the pre-prep. Okay, so all of the children go into their rooms. When they go inside, the children will sit on the mat and the educator will do a roll call and find out which children are here and which children are not coming today. Educators will also read stories to the children and play some games and sing some songs. This time of the day is generally called group time because you are together as a group. Is there a specific time where parents have to drop off their children? Not really, but the best time is before 9 o'clock, okay? Because that's going to help the children feel much happier and settled when they are at the centre. So after we've had our group time, the children will get ready for morning tea. So when they get ready for morning tea, they will go and wash their hands and they will get their drink bottles and sit down at the tables and eat. We like to think about morning tea and even all of our meal times as family style, okay? And family style means that there's groups of children at different tables and the food is in the middle. And we like to encourage children to pick up their own food and put it on the table, on their plate. So at 10 o'clock, children will generally finish eating their morning tea, so they will pack away. Now, this is the most popular time where children will play inside and they complete lots and lots of activities that the educator have planned. Children also have opportunities to play with whatever they choose. During this time, we also encourage children to go to the toilet, and if the child is wearing a nappy, then we will change their nappies as well. One of the regulations in Australia is we need to change children's nappies every 2 hours, sometimes more, depending on the child. At 11 o'clock, this is where children pack away all of the toys and they get their beds ready for rest time. Okay, so we encourage children to make their own beds. We help them, but we want them to learn, okay? And it's a very, very good task for children to learn because it will help them as they get older. Graduating diploma. Can you be a teacher up to senior kindy, and can you be a teacher for pre-prep with bachelor degree? Yes. Yes. When you are a teacher, your your wage goes up too, so you can earn more money. So that's also very good. So at 11:30, children will wash their hands and they will sit down for lunch. We will change nappies again and encourage children to go to the toilet. At 12 o'clock, children will lay in their beds for rest time. It is a requirement in Australia that our children have a rest time. This is where children can have a sleep if they need. If children do not need to sleep, they are given quiet activities, puzzles, books, sometimes arts and crafts, depending on what it is. At 2 o'clock, children will wake up from their sleep. Nappies are changed again, and they also are encouraged to go to the toilet. You can see here in the picture that there is a nappy changing display. So there's stairs, and then we encourage children to walk up the stairs. This is there because we want to make sure we do not hurt our back. Sometimes if there is a bigger child, we don't want to lift all of the children, so we can encourage them to walk up the stairs and they can lay down on the mat. And then you've also got in the other picture here, you can see that there is a bathroom. This is what most of the childcare bathrooms will look like. There's child-sized toilets, and then the sink to wash your hands is also at a child height. Everything is very small and communal. Yes, it's very cute, and especially when we get them all to wash their hands, and we like to sing the song, wash, wash, wash your hands, make them nice and clean, rub and scrub and rub and scrub, washing in between. And that's encouraging children to wash their hands correctly. So at 3 o'clock, what happens here? The children wash their hands again, and they sit down and have afternoon tea. Sometimes we like to take children outside and have a picnic when we are eating, and that just changes the whole environment for the children, and it also provides more conversation. When they go outside, we of course need to make sure that they have their hats and their sunscreen on to protect their skin from our hot sun. Teach us some more songs. There's another one where it's, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. That is a very popular song, and it also, I used to use that song to get children's attention. So sometimes when children are playing in the room and it's getting a little bit crazy, there's children everywhere, I like to say, stop, let's sing a song. So at 3:30, children will generally finish their afternoon tea. They will pack up their food, and then they will play outside until their parents pick them up. Children can go home at any time of the day. It depends on the parents and what their daily schedule looks like. Okay, so basically outside hours school care, this is more of like a school program. So at a school, we might go there if we are working in the outside hours school care. There will be a room, and it opens at 6 o'clock in the morning. So parents who have to drive very far to get to work, they might drop their children off at 6 o'clock because they need to go to work and it takes them a long time. We will look after the children between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. At 9 a.m., the children go to school. So they will go to their classroom in the school. And then if parents work very, very late, the children may come back to outside hours school care at 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. Okay, so that's generally outside hours school care is based around the school environment. Yes, they do have to go somewhere else. So the outside hours school care will not be at a childcare centre. It will be at a primary school. And of course, because they are at a primary school, these children can be anywhere from 6 years old until 12 years old. So they are going to be a little bit older, which means that you can do more advanced activities and things like that.
From 3 to 5 years old, you guys can take up to 11 children. That's a lot, isn't it?
I know, it's a lot, but they are older, you know, so they can take themselves to the toilet. They wouldn't be in a nappy, and, you know, they can play with other children quite easily. So, yeah, the age really makes a difference.
Like school, like childcare center teachers, they must have superpower, because I have 11-month-old daughter myself.
Yeah.
And just it's hard enough, but like,
hard enough with one.
Yeah.
You
so
know
I can't
what?
imagine having 11. Oh my God.
I used to babysit, and having 3 children was so difficult. But then when I'm working in childcare, it's so easy. And I think it's the routine, and children copy what other children are doing.
Oh, okay.
You know, so if there's 4 people sitting at a table eating properly, the other child is probably going to copy them.
Oh, okay. So you have to put some good behaving child in each group, right?
Yeah, but you can't just pick a good behavior child. You get what you're given. But all children are pretty good. You've just got to figure out how to work with them. Definitely have worked in childcare, you know, and I was a trainee. So I was a learning, and then I was full-time. I was a casual as well. So full-time casual. I was in a director position, which is a manager, and assistant manager as well. So I've sort of done every role imaginable.
What was the most like difficult like stuff for each position?
Look, the beginning of the year is always the hardest, because you have new children starting, especially in the babies. You know, January and February, that's when a lot of the new babies will start at the childcare centre, and there's a lot of crying happening because the babies are separating from the parents for the first time.
True.
Yeah, and then also at the beginning of every year, children move up to the next room. Okay, they're getting older. So if you're a toddler, you're going to move up to kindy, and that can be quite challenging as well. And any role that you're in a childcare centre, the beginning of the year is always toughest. Sometimes children's behaviour can be very challenging as well.
Like moving up for a child, moving up from toddler to kindy is challenging for children. Why is that?
Different environment. Different environment, different room, different teachers.
What about from nursery to toddler though?
That would be the same. It can be quite challenging. Yeah, for every room, you know, you'll have your challenges. Some children can adapt to change very, very easily. And some children cannot cope with change. And it's just a learning process for all of us, how we can support each child.
Once children put in one room, let's say in nursery for 6 weeks to a year, they stay in same group, or do they change around?
They stay in that same group all year.
Or year, okay.
So let's say it's 2022. There's children who are starting for the very first time in childcare in the nursery room. They will generally stay in the nursery all year. And then in January next year, so 2023, they will move into the toddler room.
Okay.
And toddler room, there will be different teachers or educators, There could be new children that have never been in childcare before. It's also a different routine because, in the nursery, they can't really walk and move around easily, whereas toddlers, they can. So there's a range of different reasons why they don't cope, and it just depends on the child. So if you have any other questions, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening. And we really hope to see you in Australia soon studying for early childhood education and care.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joy.
That's okay. Thank you, Josh. It was nice to meet you.